Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to the most influential urban conservative talk show in the world. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Exceptional Conservative Show, yours truly at the helm. We are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first to the Republican and then to the Democrat. Yours truly, again, at the helm. Two beautiful women. Are three actually now. Okay. Jumping in here. My lovely wife, my betrothed, Mrs. Biggs, is known to you. And she is listening to us via the Ustream. Praise God. Glad to have you listening tonight. And, of course, Mary, my bouncer, I don't know where she is at this particular moment. She may be chiming in any moment now. If she isn't, well, God bless her. We pray for her strength and her healing wherever she is. And, of course, Deborah, thank you so much for chiming in to the Ustream chat roll. So thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of those nights, and I hope that you get used to it. You are not going to know what's going to happen on any given night on the Exceptional Conservative Show. I can assure you that. But this is one of those nights where we do not have a guest. I want to talk with you about a very important subject, one that's going to require your reasoning skills, so put your thinking caps on. And let's get prepared to talk about an issue that Black America is not ready to truly digest. It is, what is the Democrat Party? What is a Democrat? And what is a socialist? Because on Tuesday morning they went to sleep Democrats, and on Wednesday they woke up as socialists. Time now for us to pledge allegiance to the United States. Put your hand on your... That's what I'm talking about. Ain't nothing like watching your children pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation still under the throne of God. And he has given me the opportunity to come to you tonight. Mary has shown up in our chat room. And listen, I'm going to tell you, you need to go to the exceptionalconservativeshow.com, the exceptionalconservativeshow.com, and there, the audio on that clip is terrible. Okay, we'll work on that. We'll work on that. And I just want to let you all know, there are going to be up and down nights when it comes to audio. I don't have one of those mainline, resourced studios. I'm still building that. But Last night's audio was great. We hope this night's audio is great. Is the audio okay, Mary? Mary, let me know if the audio is okay. Just maybe on that clip of the Pledge of Allegiance. And then again, when you get a group of kids around singing the Pledge of Allegiance, by golly, it's kind of like Sheryl Crow singing the national anthem. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Ladies and gentlemen, before we go to the last break of this first hour, I want to talk with you about two events that we are hosting through the Open Heart Closed Case campaign, one in Washington, D.C., and one in Baltimore. And we got some great, great guests, and I want you to be a part of it. You don't have to be a Washingtonian. You don't have to be a Baltimorean. I made that one up. Write that one down. Thank you, Mary. You sound great. Which is all that matters, because of the Exceptional Conservative Show. And I know I ticked off a lot of people on the first night that we came back. And the sound went down, and we just had a terrible funk. And some people haven't returned, and that's okay. But last night we set a record for listenership. I'm just going to let you know, we set a listenership record. So God is telling me that there's some people who may not ever return back. But He's opening up a big window and a big door to reach others. I pray they come back. If they don't, God bless them. But we're going to hit our stride. I think we're right on that target. Last night we had Eddie Siplin, who is going to eventually become the mayor of Akron, Ohio. And if you are in the Ohio area and can vote in Akron, which virtually means that you're an immigrant, illegal, you can vote 4 or 5 times. It doesn't matter. But we encourage you, get your absentee ballots in now. Make your donations to Eddie Siplin so that he can really get on the air and pump up the volume, mix, and win the election in Akron, Ohio. I know Mary would love to have Eddie Siplin as a mayor in Akron. She doesn't live too far away from Akron, Ohio. And there's no place far away from Akron, Ohio when you're in Ohio. So we also had on Mr. Wilburn last night. My goodness, it escapes my memory. Where's my memory book? I'm going to have to start taking my vitamins, people, because some things are beginning to escape me. Derek Wilburn. I was right. I was thinking Derek Wilburn was on with us last night, wrote an article in Town Hall in American Thinker. I want you all to make certain that you read about the number of white people pretending to be black. You say that I pretend to be white. Well, guess what, buddy? There are white people pretending to be black. And quite frankly, it is repulsive. It really is. Especially when you go really out there on the totem pole and you act as a member of Black Lives Matter. I'm just saying, out there, way out there. And also releasing the Kraken. Yes, we had with us Ralph Chittum's good friend of mine, DC GOP vice chair. Hope that he becomes chairman of the GOP here in DC. It would be a change of pace. It would be a breath of fresh air, I would say. A breath of fresh air. Wouldn't you say, Buffy? Oh! So I want you all to know. Please encourage the DC GOP to do the right thing. Make certain that Ralph Chittum's is the chairman. And what a wonderful, wonderful thing it would be if Ralph Chittum's became chairman of the GOP. You would not have to worry at all about the tendency of the camera to be affixed on one black person whenever they have a race. And I really thought this was really racial and very superficial of the Democrat Party, since we're going to talk about them tonight. They had one race question, and they went to the black guy who was way in the back. Way in the back. I think he was the janitor, and they pulled him in to read the card. But way in the back, he asked a question about race, and then you didn't hear any other black questionnaires or whatever. I don't even think Don Lemon asked too many questions last night. This is not your... Actually, I think it's fast becoming your ancestral, ancestral Democrat Party. And so, really disturbing. Really, really disturbing. In fact, when we come back from our break, I want to begin with an exploration of what Democrats say they are today. I want you to understand something. People who walk around and say that I'm a Christian and never read the Bible worry me. They do. They worry me in this particular fashion. And don't get technical with me talking about God doesn't want you to have anxieties. Oh, stop it. They worry me because they don't know what they're signing on to, and yet they choose to say they follow someone. Now, I don't know. Maybe it works with your children. But I don't know too many people that will sign on to doing something without reading the fine print. Oh, wait a minute. We do that all the time. Well, tonight we're going to take a look at the fine print of what makes somebody a Democrat. And I want you to see how slavery was eventually sewn into the fabric of the Democrat Party, not to elevate the black man, but to continually, purposely, and eternally destroy the black man and his family. I'm just going to show it to you, and then you're going to have to make a decision for yourself. You see, you signed on to the Democrat Party, never knew what you signed on to, but you can't be a Republican. You hate the Republicans because of something, and you don't even know what that something is. I was watching O'Reilly tonight, and I know I'm going to go to the break real quick. Watching O'Reilly tonight, and a Democrat was interviewed by Waters, who does the Waters World, and the Democrat described Democrats as idiots, and then it went on to say, I'm a Democrat. Only in the Democrat Party would you have individuals call themselves and their party idiots, yet get aroused and riled if someone else calls them an idiot. I think you have given us permission to do that already. We'll be back. We'll be talking about socialism and why that will be the conversation topic in the barbershop this Saturday. You're listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. That's Washington, D.C. We are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first to the Republican and then the Democrat. I'm sorry, this has got a little I Dream of Genie in this thing. You know what I'm saying? Kick it! All right.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of the restaurant, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the meals that we serve here. So we're making a pizza. We use French Italian sausage, cook here and slice it up. Our pizza work is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and good. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and the Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs with with some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now, we're going to prepare our famous black tilapia ribs, our fish and grits on the menu. And our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused cheese burgers. We keep the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA ground chuck hand patty burgers, like half a pound of burgers, and we'll grill it to perfection. After I put the burgers, we add the sauce, and then cook on into the cheese patty. We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger, spice it up a bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is not an error. It is not a mistake. It is merely fate. It is the great grace of God that you have an opportunity to eat at the inspiring, the indulgence of Infused Restaurant. Listen, they're open Saturdays and Sundays from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., meaning that they have a feast du jour for the buffet and as well for the regular orders that you would have. Oh man, I'm telling you, a la carte side dishes. I am telling you, the best brunch in Washington, D.C. Period. Hands down. Put your hands down. It is the best brunch. Listen, you can go there at 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland. 20748 is the zip code. Their telephone number is 301-449-9000, 301-449-9000. And they would love to cater your next event. Listen, you got one of DC's premier chefs, and he can cater your next meal. And you're coming up on the holidays anyway. You're coming up on Thanksgiving. You're coming up on Christmas and Hanukkah. And that crazy black religion thing. Shakalulu or something like that. Well, anyway, make this your place for dining. You can go find out more about Infuse at infuse.com. infuse.com. We're going to listen to a little bit of The Unpleasant Blind Guy, and we shall return.
No time to waste. We live so fast. Make the next step. We reach out to tomorrow. Let's say
Time for Unpleasant Blind Guy, Conservative Bite. Each year, on September the 11th, British patriots gather at the United States Embassy in London to stand in solidarity with the American people in remembrance for the lives lost in the terrorist attacks on the United States of America on that day. The attacks Americans have come to call 9/11. In 2005, bombs were exploded in London, killing 52 people and injuring 700. British people call these bombings 7/7. I'm suggesting that in solidarity with the people of the United Kingdom, in remembrance of the lives lost in the 7/7 bombings, people wait until the evening of July the 7th and then light 7 lights. This can be 7 firework rockets, 7 candles, or 7 lights of any other kind, possibly arranged in a display. I'm also suggesting that those who participate record what they do and post it to the internet as a further public display of their solidarity with the British people and with all those who have lost loved ones through the actions of those who follow the ideology of hate that is Islam. So join me on July the 7th this year and in years to come, and mark 7 on 7/7. This has been an unpleasant flying guy, conservative fight.
You know who we need right now? We need Lonnie Poindexter. Have you ever listened to Lion Chasers on AFA radio, on the internet, urban talk? Somehow, the infamous and very handsome Lonnie Poindexter goes from being a high alto tenor when doing the talk show with guys on, and it gets real deep, baby. Get real low to the ground, baby, when women come on this program and he starts talking to the ladies. Yeah, baby. What do you think about politics? Yeah, see, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that discrimination is happening all around us, and we need to do something about it. So I want y'all to tune in tomorrow at noon when your man, the exceptional one, goes on Lonnie Poindexter's Lion Chaser show. And I want you to bring it to my brother's attention that he be discriminating, and I do mean discriminating, against women's when they come on his program, getting his real deep bass voice on. You know, it's already unfair that the brother's handsome, but then he gotta go down deep with that voice. You know what I'm saying, baby? I really care about women's issues. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show. I can tell you, I have never been more relieved. And I just want to thank Mary and Ag for hanging in there with me over the 45-day period that I was away. Yes, I left Blog Talk Radio. I left all that stuff behind. I had to re-engineer, rework things. I've been talking with the Underground Professor about partnering together. And we're going to get that thing down hopefully by the end of the year. But by golly, this is just a wondrous time for me, and I'm really appreciative of it because we're getting started, and we're getting started big. I agree with you, Dave. You got to go to the exceptionalconservativeshow.com. Some of the most brilliant people are in that chat room, and they're listening and they're talking. And my wife said, Mrs. Biggs said last night, she really loved how entertaining you all were in the chat room. Dan, the man butcher, and oh my, we bow in your holy presence, Dan, the man butcher. I need to get Dan on the air and talk about how you raise kids. I love the way he raises children. Sounds like the way I raised mine. Ladies and gentlemen, my wife, in her candor, when we're driving to places like West Virginia, where we met with Jill Upson earlier this week, and God bless you, Jill, wonderful House of Delegate member. They're going to be working with us in terms of instituting the Religious law as well as the Charnese Milton law in the state of West Virginia. Thank you all so much. Unfortunately, the Soviets of the DC City Council refused to even talk with me. So they don't care about kids. They don't care about none of that stuff. They just want to make sure they get reelected to office. But she tells me how she graduated from Ballou High School, and when they came across the graduation, and this is an insight for all of you guys who are Republicans and conservatives. You really want to do something funky and fresh? Listen to this story. After they came off the dais with their diplomas, they were greeted by someone from the Democrat Party who got them to sign the registration card. And I know someday we'll all be like Oregon, and you're just, the minute you go down to DMV, you become a Democrat. Yeah, they do that in Oregon. They do that in DC too. But they signed. So what we should do, and I'll be talking with the Kraken himself, we need to find some opportunities to register people at graduations to vote. Why not? Because most people who, and when she says that they register her, they only had D. You could only register a D. And when people asked if there was other parties that they could register for, it was a no. It was just simply no. But why not release the Kraken? Why not be able to give an institutional educational experience to individuals who have been frightened away by the mavens of darkness who represent the Democrat Party? Because and I actually seen a minister, loves the Lord, praise the Lord, glory, hallelujah, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Jesus. I saw a Christian pastor who, in a private setting, we were talking about registering to vote. Gentleman had never registered to vote, didn't know what any of the parties were. She took that young man into the kitchen and told him that the only party he could register for was the Democrats. Now, I'm witnessing this stuff, okay? And when you ask Democrats exactly what is it that you believe in, they can't tell you that. That's like walking up to a Christian and saying, you believe in Jesus, now tell me why. And they go, well, cause he Jesus. Jesus came on the Nita, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, and he passed legislation so that we could vote for the first time in the history of mankind, because we had always been slaves. And then Jesus turned the water into house wine, right? And like the party really got playing up, you know what I'm saying? And then we were really getting funky with it, because, you know, he was like, shoot, oh man, we need to play some music, you know what I'm saying? And that's Jesus, and that's why I vote for Jesus. Tell me, what is it that you believe? Scriptures clearly state that as a man thinketh, he is. I want to present to you tonight that there are those who are changing the way you think about what your party is, and you don't know it. That you don't know already what the Democrats are should be frightening, not just to me, but to you. That you went to bed on Tuesday night a Democrat and you woke up on Wednesday morning a socialist should scare the bejeebers out of you. Already you're voting for killing babies. Before we even step there, let me go, because I love my technology now. I can just do this. Let me go back 8 years. Can we go back 8 years? We got enough time. This is July 23rd, 2007. Okay? And Hillary, during a Democrat debate, is asked a poignant question by the great folk at CNN. Yeah, CNN is still around. How about
Hi,
that?
my name is Rob Porter, and I'm from Irvine, California. I have a question for Hillary Clinton. Mrs. Clinton, How would you define the word liberal? And would you use this word to describe yourself? Thank you.
Well, it is a word that originally meant that you were for freedom, that you were for the freedom to achieve, that you were willing to stand against big power and on behalf of the individual. Unfortunately, in the last 30, 40 years, it has been turned up on its head, and it's made to seem as though it is a word that describes big government, totally contrary to what its meaning was in the 19th and early 20th century. I prefer the word progressive, which has a real American meaning, going back to the progressive era at the beginning of the 20th century. I consider myself a modern progressive, someone who believes strongly in individual rights and freedoms, who believes that we are better as a society when we're working together. And when we find ways to help those who may not have all the advantages in life get the tools they need to lead a more productive life for themselves and their families. So I consider myself a proud, modern American progressive, and I think that's the kind of philosophy and practice that we need to bring back to American politics.
So you would be a liberal, you'd say progressive. Senator Gravel, are you liberal? I never use that word. We're better than that. We've had Zach ask about change. We're going to see any change when these people get elected. We've asked about that we're united. We're not united. I'm not united on many of their views. And I'm going to take on Barack Obama for a minute. He said he doesn't take money from lobbyists. Well, he has 134 bunglers. Now, what does he think that is? And besides that, he has received money from a Robert Wolf, the head of the USB Bank in the United States, who raised $195,000 from his bank, who has lobbyists in Washington. It's a foreign-owned bank. Senator Obama, I'm going to let you respond.
And we're not going to listen. Because we know it to be true. Now, notice how she parlayed the truth into a lie. In order to be a great, well, actually, let's just put it this way. In order to be the average politician, you must first be a lawyer. In order to be the average politician, you must first be able to convince yourself that no matter what you say, it is the truth. To be a great politician, you must not only know that you are telling a lie because you tried to convince yourself that you were telling the truth, but you must be so tremendously committed to the lie that you told that it sways individuals who live by truth to accept your lie as truth. You have to be a master salesman. Now, they blame Donald Trump for being a quote-unquote capitalist and master salesman, but he is good at what he does. I have, for you, an individual who is good at what she does. That's Hillary Clinton. Liberal, when we look at the Latin term of liberalis, it means free man. So literally, by the mid-17th century, going into the mid-19th century, you had philosophers who had built their reasonings and explanations for how governance should be done, not as in the enlightenment of the French Revolution, but in the enlightenment of the Founding Fathers, in which they accepted a common premise first, that they could not make men free, they were already born free. And so a liberal accepts the fact that you are created, which is why she doesn't want to be called a liberal in the first place, because she believes in evolution. You cannot be both a creationist and an evolutionist. But you have to believe that the rights have been given to you by someone greater than you, and that someone greater than you cannot be equal to you. Hence, as a liberal, you believe that you were created in the image of God, born free, to all men who were not supposed to exercise their civil unrest and illiberality through slavery, through corruption, through manipulation, through all of the horrendous things that are done and called a politic today. But because you were born free, your first and foremost responsibility is to adhere to the laws of God. That means that you can't go around calling yourself Caitlin one day and then Bruce the next. So, I also, in terms of looking at that particular term, the term liberal meant that it was suitable for a gentleman. Suitable for a gentleman. So there is a sense of civility, and there's an expectation of civility in terms of dealing with the term liberal. And so when we talk about liberal today, which has been corrupted, this is the modern definition. So we have come afar from the original Latin definition of what liberal meant. The modern definition, which is ascribed to individuals like Baracus Husseinis Obama and Hilarius Clintonus, and so on and so on, it is ascribed in this fashion: open to new behavior or opinions and willing to discard traditional values. To be a liberal in the framework of which the original Romans wrote Latin, you accepted traditional values, you cling to them, your opinions were not based on hypothesis but on fact and law, and your behavior met for the aggrandizement of society and not for its debacle, not to tear it down. It was supposed to uplift it, protect it, and serve it. So when someone calls themselves a liberal today, it would be along the lines of what we as conservatives call ourselves. And this is why I want you all to pay close attention for those who are tuning in at home on the down low, who don't want to let other people know that you're listening to a conservative radio program. The reason why she wants you to call her a progressive is simply because, type that in there, it more fits in a better context what she really is. The term progressive, when we look at the original origin of it, okay, means to go forward. If anybody remembers Lenin's painting, and you see the tanks and you see the men with guns and they're moving forward, and he says, go forward. Progressivism is built on leaving the principles of constitutionalism, radical thinking, and settling somewhere in the area of totalitarianism that is better suited for original acceptance and then for transition to something more severe. Socialism is the bridge that gets you eventually to communism. Marxism is a tool that's used to gin up upheaval amongst the races and amongst the classes. And in fact, Jesus referred to only two classes of people, rich and poor. We have politicians today who believe in a middle class. When Jesus spoke of rich and poor, he spoke of those who were rich in the sense that they knew that they were flawed, and poor in the sense that they thought they were perfect. We have assigned monetary value to what is rich and what is poor. And when you think about the concept of rich and poor, we are richer. We're in the top 3% of all the wealth in the world, the United States of America. The poorest welfare recipient in Washington, D.C. will get at least $40,000 to $45,000 of taxpayer benefit. Healthcare, welfare, You stare, I care. It doesn't matter. You just go on and on. But there is money that's being taken from one group and given to another group. Now, in the days of yore, we thought of that Robin Hood scenario as really maliciousness against a ruled society. Okay? Stealing. Remember, Robin Hood, he's robbing from the hood. He's taking from someone and giving to someone else. That's why if you accept the principles of progressivism, leaving the traditions behind, that means that the money you make is yours, and you make a contribution to the government to protect and to serve. Once you start leaving that, then you become institutionalized and you believe that someone else's wealth belongs to you so that you can use it for your betterment, instead of allowing that individual to make a decision for themselves. The difference between liberalism and progressivism is that liberalism says that a man will pursue truth to the point that he's free. Progressivism says, I will believe the lie to the point of destruction. We have $18 trillion in debt. When we look at the real numbers, $100 trillion outstanding that one nation will never be able to repay. Many of us have bought into the lie that we call ourselves progressives, thinking that that is somehow a betterment, when actually it's the causation of your destruction. I want to take you now to not only 8 years ago. Let me bring you up to speed a little bit. I want to play for you what she says 8 years later in a Democrat debate for the presidency. Oh, wait a minute, she's running again, which required, the Democrat Party only requires that you're old and white in order to win. That's basically it, or to run.
Plenty politicians evolve on issues, but even some Democrats believe you change your positions based on political expediency. You're against same-sex marriage, now you're for it. You defended President Obama's immigration policies, now you say they're too harsh. You supported his trade deal dozens of times. You even called it the gold standard. Now, suddenly last week, you're against it. Will you say anything to get elected?
Well, actually, I have been very consistent over the course of my entire life. I have always fought for the same values and principles, but like most human beings, including those of us who run for office, I do absorb new information. I do look at what's happening in the world. Take the trade deal. I did say when I was Secretary of State 3 years ago that I hoped it would be the gold standard. It was just finally negotiated last week. And in looking at it, it didn't meet my standards for more new good jobs for Americans, for raising wages for Americans. And I want to make sure that I can look into the eyes of any middle-class American and say, this will help raise your wages, and I concluded I could not.
So concluding, though, with all due respect, the question is really about political expediency. Just in July in New Hampshire, you told the crowd you, quote, take a backseat to no one when it comes to progressive values. Last month in Ohio, you said you plead guilty to, quote, being kind of moderate and center. Do you change your political identity based on who you're talking to?
No, I think that, like most people that I know, I have a range of views, but they are rooted in my values and my experience. And I don't take a backseat to anyone when it comes to progressive experience and progressive commitment. When I left law school, my first job was with the Children's Defense Fund. And for all the years since, I have been focused on how we're going to unstack the deck and how we're going to make it possible for more people to have the experience I had, to be able to come from a grandfather who's a factory worker, a father who's a small business person, and now asking the people of America to elect me president.
Just for the record, are you a progressive or are you a moderate?
I'm a progressive, but I'm a progressive who likes to get things done. And I know how to find common ground, and I know how to stand my ground, and I have proved that in every position that I've had, even dealing with Republicans who never had a good word to say about me, honestly, but we found ways to work together on everything from reforming foster care and adoption to the Children's Health Insurance Program, which insures 8 million kids. So I have a long history of getting things done rooted in the same value that I've always had.
So I got to ask you this question. What exactly are your values if you're constantly throwing your values out? What are your values? There are no values. There are no experiences. Because only new experiences count. Only what your opinion is today, only what your behavior is today counts. That's all that matters. So to be a progressive is to be the most legitimate form of politics, where you can literally lie and live the lie and be accepted for being truthfully a liar. You don't flip-flop when you believe in traditional values. You flip-flop when there's an expediency to believing in traditional values. When we come back, I want to talk with you a little bit more about why certain black men will go into the barbershop on Saturday and begin talking about this crazy term that they began hearing from their wives who listened to Hillary Clinton on Tuesday night. Socialism. Yeah, it can happen to you.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of the restaurant, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the meals that we share here. We're making a pizza. We use fresh Italian sausage that they cook here and slice it up. Our pizza cup is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and good. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and a Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. And our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused beef burgers. So we keep the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA ground chuck ham patty burgers, like half a pound of burgers, and we're going to grill it to perfection. After I flip the burgers, we add the sauce and let it cook on into the meat just a little bit. We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger to spice it up a bit.
Inspire, indulge, infuse, baby. I am telling you, you want some good food. 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland, 20748 is the zip code. The telephone number, and I'm going to tell you right now, for you need to order or reserve your spot for brunch. It really is one of the best brunch spots in the city, in Washington metropolitan area, period. And you all know how I love to eat. I mean, just look at the swell. Look at that man. Can't you tell he loves to eat? 301-449-9000. 301-449-9000. www.infuseinfuse.com. www.infuseinfuse.com. Ladies and gentlemen, You too can advertise on this particular program. It's very simple, very easy. All you have to do is go to the exceptionalconservativeShow.com. There is a rumor, and it's only a rumor to my black people who I'm still waiting for my black card, that over 100,000 people listen to the show on a nightly basis. And last night we had our largest listening audience, and I'm quite certain that as people begin to realize that I'm back on the air and that we're ready to rock and roll going into the election season, more and more people will be listening to us. Why not get your message out like Infuse? I mean, can you imagine what their restaurant will look like once people realize night after night, listening to this particular program, that they have the best menu, not only in the city, but in the region probably. Ladies and gentlemen, your product and your idea and your novelty is just as important as Infused Restaurant. Make it your business. Go to the exceptionalconservativeshow.com. Scroll down to the area where it talks about advertising and look for the name of Garfield Williams. That's my advertising guru. Talk with him and we'll get your stuff on the air. We are around the world, baby. So think of this as a world-class radio program that can get your world-class message out to the world. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about what Democrats believe in. And then some would be so crude as to think that they really don't believe in anything. Well, subject to discussion. But I want to play for you, because we've already established the fact that being a progressive, when someone tells you that they're being a progressive, they're just being uppity. That's just bourgeoisie. They're just being a little uppity. I'm progressive. I think things through before I make a decision on them. Are you a monkey or a man? What is it? The bottom line is, there are those who have now taken the name Democrat out. Just like they took God out of the Democrat Party at the last convention, they're taking Democrat out of that particular conversation. And now we're beginning to focus on what Karl Marx started back in 1865 with a letter to Abraham Lincoln. It was a threat that someday, the way they thought, would take over America. I want to play for you someone who could be the next president of the United States of America. You think of him as the Muppet Man, Bernie Sanders.
The Democratic Socialist. How can any kind of socialist win a general election in the United States? Well, we're going to win because first we're going to explain what democratic socialism is. And what democratic socialism is about is saying that it is immoral and wrong that the top 1/10 of 1% in this country own almost 90%, own almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. That it is wrong today in a rigged economy that 57% of all new income is going to the top 1%. That when you look around the world, you see every other major country providing health care to all people as a right, except the United States. You see every other major country saying to moms that when you have a baby, we're not going to separate you from your newborn baby because we are going to have medical and family paid leave like every other country on earth. Those are some of the principles that I believe in, and I think we should look to countries like Denmark, like Sweden, and Norway, and learn from what they have accomplished for their working people. Denmark is a country that has a population of 5.6 million people. The question is really about electability here. And that's what I'm trying to get at. The Republican Attack Act against you in a general election, it writes itself. You supported the Sandinistas in Nicaragua, you honeymooned with the Soviet Union, and just this weekend you said you're not a capitalist. Doesn't that ad write itself? Well, first of all, let's look at the facts. The facts that are very simple. Republicans win when there is a low voter turnout, and that is what happened last November. 63% of the American people didn't vote, Anderson. 80% of young people didn't vote. We are bringing out huge turnouts and creating excitement all over this country. Democrats at the White House on down will win when there is excitement and a large voter turnout, and that is what this campaign is doing. You don't consider yourself a capitalist, though. Do I consider myself part of the casino capitalist process by which so few have so much and so many have so little, by which Wall Street, greed and recklessness, wreck this economy? No, I don't. I believe in a society where all people do well, not just a handful of billionaires.
That's amazing.
You call yourself a...
It really is amazing when you think about it. And you're listening to the Exception Considered Show live from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. I'm your host, Kim McClinton. We're talking tonight about Democrat socialism, which is virtually taking the name Democrat out of the party and looking at the term socialism. We can get into a great debate in terms of whether that's happening overtly or covertly, but as of Wednesday night, when you get the question, can a socialist win in America, there has been a fundamental transformation of the United States of America. That fundamental transformation did not happen with Obama, but it has ended with Obama. You see, the transformation began back after the 1860s at the end of the Civil War, when the Democrat Party, angered over the fact that they had been beaten and blustered, angered over the fact that now black people would be able to vote without their encumbrances, virtually put in a condition of equality with all men, sought an upper hand. They started the Ku Klux Klan to fight against those who preferred freedom to be free men. And they aimed at something called Reconstruction. Now, the reason why they aimed at Reconstruction was very simple. As long as there is a sense of instability, they could always count on their power and rulership. I want you to understand and write this down, Mr. and Mrs. Urban Listener, on the down low. Where there is instability, there will always be Democrat rule. Meaning rule of progressives, meaning rules by men and women who desire not traditional values, not traditional laws, not laws accorded according to the creator of the heaven and the earth, but those who seek their own gain. You see, that is the Robin Hood effect. And let me explain something to you about Robin Hood. What is the principle behind Robin Hood? The principle around Robin Hood is either to cause a dependency issue by which wealth doesn't come from people working and creating wealth themselves, but it comes from someone taking it from someone and giving it to someone else. And thus, if you take wealth from a wealthy man and give it to a poor man, doesn't that make the poor man now wealthy? Well, yes, it does. But the wealthy man, except for those who inherited it, of course, and if they worked hard to keep their inheritance, and it includes them, the wealthy man has used his individual intellectual prowess, has used the resources that were given to him by God, and has worked hard to create a system that not only profits him, but also profits those who have the opportunity to work in it. Because before then, we were merely servants or slaves, without the possibility of ownership of land, of property, and certainly intellectual capital. What makes us different? What makes us different is that there are those who have the philosophy of Adam Smith and John Locke, who believed that you, the individual, graced by God, are the king of your own household, subject to the same authority, power, and recognition given to the king of the state in which you live. Progressives don't believe that. Progressives believe, like Robin Hood, that if I take from someone else and patronage other people, those who have received the patronage will only support my endeavors. And thus, I cause instability in the work system, or the capitalism system, if you wish to go that far. And in the same neighborhoods where people have a dependency now on me. So when they seek wealth after they have expended their wealth, having not developed the skill set necessary to create it, although Deuteronomy 8:18 says that we have all been given the power to make wealth, some of us have never experienced making wealth, and some of us, in fact, are jealous over the fact that other people do exercise their gift in making wealth. And we'll speak against them every Sunday morning when they have the opportunity. So what happens? You create angst between men of success and men of reason. You create distance between the laborer and the owner. You create distance between the man who has a little bit more and the man who has a little bit less. You create anxiety and hatred because you believe that because a certain person is a color of skin, that they are either superior or inferior to who you are. Having all of that instability makes it easy for people to constantly blame someone else and not themselves, and also depend on the kindness of thievery to get their wealth. It happens every single day in America. Ladies and gentlemen, that was not what God wanted. God wanted you to be the owner, the priest, and the king of your own household. He wanted you to make wealth. He did not want you subject to the state. He wanted you to be subject to him. So what exactly do Democrats believe in? Well, when we come back, I will be calling the great Dr. Michael Jones, and you know him as the underground professor. And I will talk about this in greater detail with a man who probably knows a little bit more than on this particular subject. And we will continue to talk. Saturday Barbershop Talk. What's socialism? And let me do this very quickly for those who have to get away. If you don't know by now, socialism is simply the science or the act by which a state has ownership of your property and your intelligentsia. Literally, the state thinks for you, the state owns you, and you better smile. I'll still come for you. We'll be back with more of the best in urban conservative talk. Certainly, I believe, one of the best in the world. And I'm only biased. We'll be back. Ladies Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you back to the most influential urban conservative talk show in the world. Yes, thank you. Thank you, baby. I was just giving my deep bass voice like Lonnie does on his own program. You know, like, I need to have a little drinkity drink. Yeah, this is coming to you from SHR Media's My Little Drinkity Drink. Whatever you do, don't mess with Texas, baby. We mean it. We mean it. We'll take it to you. I swear we will. Ladies and gentlemen, listen, we're not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first to the Republican and then the Democrat. Yours truly at the helm tonight, Dr. Jones will be joining us, but I wanted to make clear in the last segment, we just left, Bernie Sanders was making it very clear that in order for us to have a socialist state, there are two things that you need outright. You have to guarantee employment. You have to guarantee work. Well, what is the only way that you can guarantee work? Well, you have to take over all of the operations and ownership of property. Well, how do you do that? Well, you can do that with eminent domain. Number one, that's a great tool to use. Number two, you can use it with regulation by stating in regulatory affairs that you can guarantee someone a job for 16 weeks as long as they pay taxes. And they may not pay enough into the system to guarantee them the 16 weeks. But what you have done is tied the hands of the employer to make them offer a benefit that may not necessarily be consequential to their bottom line. So, ladies and gentlemen, guaranteeing work. Meaning that even if you're not good at what you do, you still got a job. Even if you have babies out the yin-yang, you still have a job. Even if you don't produce at the greatest level, you still got a job. Well, we heard about that in the 60s and 70s when I was growing up, and we were told that it was Russia, where people were guaranteed work and guaranteed a wage, but it did not guarantee them success in terms of keeping out of poverty. In this particular country, you can go back over history and look over time and see that this nation has done well, and the people in this nation have done well because not too many generations are repetitive in the field of poverty. It is only a recent occurrence that you have generational poverty, the transference of poverty. And I've actually watched mothers and grandmothers feel great pride in being able to sign over their Section 8 house to somebody else in their family. That's not inheritance. You were not intended to be there in poverty forever, and neither were your children. But the dastardly thing is for conservatives like me to say, you know what, we don't want people to be comfortable in poverty. Poverty is its own tool to motivate you out of itself and into what we call the comforts of wealth. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take my little swig here. There you go. Let me call the great one himself, Dr. Michael Jones. Let me see. You know, I didn't tell you all about. Before I do that, let me call. Before I call Dr. Michael Jones, you can go to the Open Heart Closed Case campaign on the exceptionalconservativeshow.com. You can click on there. You can get tickets, and by the end of tomorrow night, you'll be able to get tickets for the Maryland event that we'll be hosting in Baltimore on Friday, November the 6th from 7 to 9 p.m. called Real Solutions. And Bishop Wellington Boone will be in attendance. Pennsylvania Superior Court Judge Cheryl Lynn Allen, who's retired and was a candidate for the Supreme Court in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, will be in attendance. And St. Louis Ferguson, Missouri Alderman Jeffrey Boyd will be in attendance on that Friday night. You can go to the Open Heart Closed Case campaign Facebook page. You can click on there, go to the Eventbrite, and get your free tickets. The tickets are free. We register individuals. The first 100 people that register will get in, guaranteed. Anyone else, we can't guarantee that. So we want to make sure that you can get in. And then on the following Saturday, which is November the 7th, at 11 a.m. at Living Word Church in Southwest Washington, D.C., If you go to the Open Heart Closed Case campaign page on the exceptionalconservativeShow.com, you can scroll down. You will see there Judge Ola Lewis. You will also see Bishop Wellington Boone and Alderman Jeffrey Boyd. They will be the panelists for discussion. And again, it's a free event, but you got to register. If you register, we can get you in. Everyone else won't get in until all of the people with tickets get through. So that means that you might not be able to get in. So there are 150 tickets for that particular event, and we want to make certain that you come. You don't have to be a Washingtonian. You can be out of town, and you can fly in for that day. If you want to meet Wellington Boone, if you want to sit down and listen to what he has to say, along with the great jurist and also Jeffrey Ward, by God, you can come. It's just that simple. All you got to do is just click on and register for the event. You can get up to 10 tickets. So if you plan on bringing people, and don't do this, people, because I can't stand this. You order 10 tickets and one person show up. Don't do that, because there were 9 other people out there in the country that wanted to come and can't now. So be judicial and be earnest in terms of registering for the event. But you can register, and we look forward to you coming. Pastor Shannon Wright, Dr. Forgive me, Ralph Chittums will be there, and so on and so on. And so I am truly looking forward to a wonderful, wonderful time. Let me see. Where is Dr. Michael Jones here? All right. Just do this right here. This is one of the benefits of doing a show, you know. We are now going to call the great doctor, who is probably joning on the fact that I did not call him at the specified time. You know what I'm saying, yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not as professional in the field of commentary in public format as he. Let's call the great doctor. Let's see what's up with him tonight.
Please leave your message for 81789.
All right, so apparently the professor is not here. All right, and so Mary, make a note. Make a note, Mary. I did call. I do not want to hear the professor say that I did not call and that I'm only doing this to be cruel to him. I would not do that on purpose. All right, let us go back. So this is the thing that kills me, and I don't know if it kills you, or, you know. But when you ask people exactly what they believe in, they cannot tell you what they believe in. Let me give you what the Democrats believed in. Okay? And in fact, let me read these principles to you, and you tell me if they are Democrat or Republican. Number 1, resolve that the federal government is one of limited powers, derived solely from the Constitution, and the grants of power shown therein ought to be strictly construed by all the departments and agents of the government, and that it is inexpedient and dangerous to exercise doubtful constitutional powers. Meaning, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't matter if you have a pen and a pad or a phone. If the Constitution said you can't do it, you can't do it. Number 2, resolve that the Constitution does not confer upon the general government the power to commence and carry on a general system of internal improvements. Ladies and gentlemen, what that means is that it is not up to the federal government to handle the affairs of men, but the states. Resolved, number 3, that the Constitution does not confer authority upon the federal government, directly or indirectly, to assume the debts of the several states, contracted for local internal improvements or other state purposes, nor would such assumption be just or expedient. What you do in your bedroom of your state is your business. If you want to be broke, busted, and disgusted, that's on you. If you want to pay for illegal aliens to go to your school, it's on you. But the federal government should not pay for your crap. Resolve, this is number 4, the justice and sound policy forbid the federal government to foster one branch of industry to the detriment of another, or to cherish the interests of one portion to the injury of another portion of our common country. That every citizen in every section of the country has a right to demand and insist upon an equality of rights and privileges, and to complete and ample protection of person and property from domestic violence or foreign aggression. Domestic violence or foreign aggression. The federal government is subject to the authority of the states, not the other way around. Number 5, resolve that it is the duty of every branch of the government to enforce, get this word now, kiddies, to enforce and practice the most rigid economy. I'm going to say that to you again. This is a certain political party, and you tell me what political party says this. To enforce and practice the most rigid economy in conducting our public affairs, and that no more revenue ought to be raised than is required to defray the necessary expenses of the government. What party says that? Wow. Number 6, resolve that Congress has no power to charter a national bank. What? Congress has no power for a central banking authority? They cannot establish that? The Constitution says they can't establish that? Well, yeah, the Constitution says they can't establish that. But what did the progressives do in the 1900s? They established it. But this party did not believe that. And to interfere with or control the domestic institutions of the several states, and that the states are the sole and proper judges of everything appertaining into their own affairs, not prohibited by the Constitution, that all efforts by abolitionists or others made to induce Congress to interfere with questions of slavery or to take incipient steps in relation thereto are calculated to lead to the most alarming and dangerous consequences, and that all such efforts have an inevitable tendency to diminish the happiness of the people and endanger the stability and permanency of the Union, and ought not to be countenanced by any friend to our political institutions. Wow, that Congress has no power. Resolve that the separation of the monies of the government from banking institutions is indispensable. You shouldn't be bailing out banks. It's indispensable for the safety of the funds of the government and the rights of the people. And then number 9, resolve that the liberal principles, free man principles, embodied by Jefferson in the Declaration of Independence and sanctioned in the Constitution, which makes, and remember now, the original Thomas Jefferson Declaration of Independence, my friends, chastised Britain for its slave trade and demanded the slave trade end around the world. Okay, which makes ours the land of liberty and the asylum of the oppressed of every nation, have ever been cardinal principles in the democratic faith. Oh my God, they use the term faith. And every attempt to abridge the present privileges of becoming citizens and the owners of soil among us ought to be resisted with the same spirit which swept the alien and sedition laws from our statute book. Ladies and gentlemen, the party that wrote these principles is the Democrat Party. The year that this is written is 1840. It is the construct of their first political party platform. Now I want to do something for you, because many of you all would say, well, I'm a Democrat, but I'm not that kind of Democrat. Because actually, many of these principles, except for the slavery piece, many of these principles are upheld by conservatives like me. I would never be a Democrat, or at least a modern day Democrat. But many of those principles we fight for in the Tea Party. So really, Democrats, you are likened to us over time. Let me take you, my friends, to a different era and a different time. This is the 2012 Democrat Party. Okay? And I want you to know that the Democrat Party of today is nothing like. Nothing like. I want to say that for you one more time so that you understand what I'm saying to you. Nothing like the Democrat Party of your ancestors, which was bitterly fought against by Frederick Douglass and other abolitionists under the Republican Party. We're going to do a show about what the Republican platform was and is today next week. Now, 2012. Remember we talked about Lenin before in that outstretched hand going forward? The 2012 Democratic National Platform, for progressives, of course, moving America forward. Moving America forward. Ladies and gentlemen, socialism has a stranglehold over the Democrat Party. Do you see how far they have been removed just on moving America forward? Okay? Moving America forward. How far they have moved from the principal ideas that were very conservative, that were very traditional, except for the nuance of slavery, which was an aberration, to the point where now they're voting God out of their platform. Let me go over some of the things that Democrats believe. Well, they say that they believe in rebuilding the middle class and the middle class tax cuts and health care. But let's take a look at health care. We believe accessible, affordable, high-quality health care is part of the American promise. That Americans should have the security that comes with good health and that no one should go broke because they get sick. Oh, well, those are all noble challenges and noble causes, are they not? But here's something that we should be uniquely concerned about. Over the determined opposition of Republicans, we enacted landmark reforms that are already helping millions of Americans, and more benefits will soon come. The whole idea that government has the power, has the authority, has the grace and the privilege to take your right away from you to choose your own doctor, to choose your own health plan, to choose your own physicians, to choose your own laboratories, to choose. They've taken your power to choose away from you, and they've given you something called Obamacare. Now, according to reports, Obamacare will cost 52% more next year than it did this year. Now, let me give you something to make a comparison of what 52% looks like in comparison to what 2% looks like. This is 52%. Everybody got that? That's 52%. This is 2%. This is what old people got last year for Medicare. For Social Security increase, cost of living. And what old people found out today, those who receive Social Security, is that there will not be at all a cost of living increase. Cost goes up, income doesn't change. and the people who have been in office who have promised you that your income would change are now asking for you, after they have given you guaranteed health care, not telling you that guarantees of that nature are too costly and that the private industry can better assess and better handle health care. You're left now holding the bag. Affordable health care is not affordable. It's noble, but it does not do what it says. How is it that we could get that passed? Well, our focus was clearly on the aspects of a noble intention to take the pain away from healthcare, to take the brokenness away financially from healthcare, to do something for you that God will do for you in and of Himself and in of His own time. Ladies and gentlemen, they also believe in terms of their principles, in terms of abortion. They believe in bailing out the banks. While they speak of Wall Street reform, they take globs of wealth from Wall Street to run for office. So all these particular things they believe in. And in fact, let me take you now to what the progressives believed in 1924. Can we do that real quick? Here we go. This is what the 1924 progressives believe. We denounce the mercenary system of foreign policy under recent administrations in the interests of financial imperialists, oil monopolists, and international bankers, which has at times degraded our State Department from its high service as a strong and kindly intermediary of defenseless governments to a trading outpost for those interests and concession seekers engaged in the exploitation of weaker nations, as contrary to the will of the American people, destructive of domestic development and provocative of war. We favor an active foreign policy to bring about a revision of the Versailles Treaty in accordance with the terms of the armistice, and to promote firm treaty agreements with all nations to outlaw wars, abolish conscription, drastically reduce land, air, and naval armaments, and guarantee public referendum on peace and war. Wow, peace on earth and goodwill to all men. Yes, peace on earth was the platform of the 1924 Progressive Party. The same party which is now taken over through the Socialist Party, the TECS, forgive me, the Democrat Party itself. Let me read to you what their opening is like under the Progressive Party. The great issue before the American people today is the control of government and industry by private monopoly. Is that not what Bernie Sanders said just a few moments ago? That the Wall Street interests are our biggest threat? And I'll read this for you again, November 4, 1924. The great issue before the American people today is the control of government and industry by private monopoly. For a generation, the people have struggled patiently in the face of repeated betrayals by successive administrations to free themselves from this intolerable power, which has been undermining representative government. Through control of government, notice how there's a constant statement of control. When we come back after the break, we're going to talk about why control, that very word, is the center for why you went to bed a Democrat but woke up a socialist. Through control of government, monopoly has steadily extended its absolute dominion to every basic industry. in violation of law, monopoly has crushed competition, stifled private initiative and independent enterprise, and without fear of punishment, now exacts extortionate profits upon every necessity of life consumed by the public. The equality of opportunity proclaimed by the Declaration of Independence. Whoa, what party started using? Write that date down, November 4, 1924. It will become very important to you as we are studying this issue. The equality of opportunity proclaimed by the Declaration of Independence and asserted and defended by Jefferson and Lincoln as the heritage of every American citizen has been displaced by special privilege for the few, wrested from the government of the many. Did not Bernie Sanders just say that? And he called himself a Democrat socialist, which really means you take the Democrat off and you're really a socialist. And what did Hillary Clinton call herself? I'm a progressive that knows how to get things done. Ladies and gentlemen, when we come back from our break, we're going to talk about what it means to be a socialist in America and why the barbershops on Saturday should be ablaze, and why Frederick Douglass Republicans should be in every barbershop this weekend talking about the difference between being a socialist or progressive and being a free man. You're listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show, live from the nation's capital. I'm your host, the Exceptional Conservative, Ken McClinton.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of the restaurant, and today I'm walking through some of the meals that we prepare So we're making a pizza. We use French Italian sausage. They cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and a Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now, we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. And our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused cheeseburgers. We keep the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA ground chuck hand patty burgers, like half a pound of burgers, and we're going to grill it to perfection. After I flip the burgers, we add the sauce and let it cook on into the meat. We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger, spice it up a bit.
inspire, indulge. Baby, infuse. 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland 20748. Telephone number 301-449-9000. www.infuseinfuse.com. 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 I like that. We will be right back with more of the best in urban conservative talk. We are talking, what do Democrats believe? What are their values? And we have learned they have no values, and their beliefs are ever changing.
Wind over his fans and this is what it is. Each love corn, the cornfields and and cross over these buildings. One stock, right out of the shoot practice. And I thought I'd be that they're not very low here. Not shoot that high easy. No matter how I hit them, it knocks them down. So
8, 9, 6,
we're gonna
7,
get cracking
5.
one before this is over with. I hear some coming now.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know exactly where that's coming from. Oh, right there I did. All right, ladies and gentlemen, socialism has crippled Black America. Socialism has crippled Black America, and we're going to go virtually straight through in this particular quarter because there's some potent things that you need to be able to speak about in that barbershop, where there will be radicals who will go inside that barbershop and convince the Van Joneses of the world, have their expectations of going into that barbershop and explaining to the brothers, listen, man, there's nothing really wrong with being a socialist, man, because the man's always trying to hold you down, right, G, and right, and capitalism never helped no black people, right, except maybe Oprah, you know what I'm saying? So we in a system that has been divisive and has been instrumentally taking affronting away from the packaging of the systematizing of the ing of the DNA that afflicts us all, and that's why we need to all be socialists. And somebody will sit there and say, you know what, man, you're really deep, you make sense. I know some of you all are thinking that I am paying too great a time in the microcosm of political talk, talking to the Black Americans rather than talking to all Americans, but I want you to infer upon a course of action that it does not matter what race you speak to or what gender you ascribe to. Simply put, it is your role and responsibility to defend the Constitution, to defend conservatism, to defend capitalism, and to defend Christianity. So, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to do that? Because this should be the easiest time of all to talk to people. I remember in my church, people were using Acts chapter 2 to explain that Jesus wanted communism. People will use whatever tool and device they can to afflict those who have faith because they want you to exchange it for religion. But in writing, John Rosamondo, so this was not, let me say, a scripted wannabe white Republican like me writing this. He wrote back in March 19th, 2011, that it was squarely socialist thought that has crippled Black America. Now, you let me know if this is still true. Niger Ennis, national spokesman for the Congress on Racial Equality, says Marxists have worked hard to exploit blacks for the past century and divide them from the rest of society. Do you feel tonight, as an African American, that you are divided from society? And who told you that you were? See, it's amazing how you can stand in the same line and people think, you know, I'm in a separate line. That does not make sense. Let me go on. Socialism, Rosamondo writes, has been deeply ingrained in the black community since the NAACP's founding in 1909, according to the Socialist Party USA. I want you to take this information. I'm not making this up, people. I'm reading to you exactly as it is, and I'm giving you reference sources. This is a writing in townhall.com by John Rosamondo, March 19, 2011. That's 4 years ago, over 4 years ago. Socialism has been deeply ingrained in the black community since the NAACP's founding in 1909, according to the Socialist Party USA. The same party that says that there are at least more than 70 African American and others, Hispanic and others, who are members of their party, although they will not say it aloud. And in fact, there have been allegations that Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton is a socialist and a member of the Socialist Party USA. We pray that she step forward and pronounce whether that is truth or lie. He goes on to write, Rosamondo, and NAACP founder W.E.B. Du Bois, I love you, uppity so-and-sos, Du Bois later developed an admiration for Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin and even continued to apologize for him even after many other black intellectuals like Ralph Ellison have repudiated their support for the dictator. Du Bois even received the 1959 Lenin Peace Prize. I just want to make that settle in. Dr. Michael Hughes, this is that moment where you just settle in and you begin to hear stuff. I know that you have defenses already put up, but I want you to go Star Wars on me. Take down the defenses. Join the force. And formally joined, Du Bois joined the Communist Party USA 2 years later in 1961. An affection for socialism also permeated black American culture during the Harlem Renaissance of the 1930s, when artists such as Langston Hughes and Paul Robeson flirted with Stalinism. Do you understand why black people like Hillary? She is reminiscent of Stalin. She will tell you what you want to hear, and she doesn't mind using force. Remember now, the person who's responsible for the mass incarceration of black people was not Ronald Reagan. It was not George H.W. Bush, and it wasn't George W. Bush. That mass incarceration happened under Hillary's husband's administration, the Clinton administration. Think I'm lying? You can talk to Superior Court Judge Cheryl Lynn Allen, forgive me, who will be one of our speakers at the event in Baltimore. An affection for socialism has also permeated black American culture during the Harlem Renaissance of the 1930s, when artists such as Langston Hughes and Paul Robeson flirted with Stalinism. Robeson won the 1952 Stalin Peace Prize and remained an unapologetic defender of the Soviet dictator throughout his life. Not even legendary civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. escaped being infected by the socialist virus, as evidenced by speeches he gave toward the end of his life. And the Black Panthers, including now Congressman Bobby Rush, looked to Mao for inspiration. Who looks to Mao for inspiration who's running for the progressive Socialist Democrat Party candidacy for the presidency of the United States? Who even dresses like Mao Zedong? I'm going to give you a minute to think this one through. Whose Christmas bulb was on the Obama tree in the first year that they were in office? Mao Zedong. Let me go on. Rosamondo is written very well here. The biggest tragedy in all of this is that the blacks did not know the poison of socialism and communism, Ennis says. And I'm going to tell you that Ennis is wrong. Can I just be honest with you? Ennis is wrong. They didn't know. But why did they choose it anyway? Because a privileged few get rewarded and they keep the rest of the village in darkness, and will retaliate if you threaten their revenue source. Ennis says, and they were led to believe it was the only alternative for fighting Jim Crow and pushing back against segregation. The black elite's Marxist dialectic has pit white versus black and rich versus poor, and has disempowered countless black Americans in the process by promoting collective hatred and jealousy. Did we not establish that in the very beginning of this program? This is why, instead of talking about where does Caitlyn Jenner hide her junk, instead of talking about whether Kirk Cousins will win against the New York Jets, instead of talking about whether Tyler Perry will put out another play, at the salon and at the barbershop on Saturday, you need to have a conversation with your brothers, because the Democrat Party that you signed up for ain't the same Democrat Party. They are socialists. They are out to destroy you and your family, your intelligence, your profitability, your family, your property, and your future inheritance. They care not about you. And no one who is a socialist or a communist or a Marxist can point to any country that has been successful implementing any of those strategies. All of them have fallen behind in wealth and have a largesse, in fact, seeming ownership of poverty. But the man be holding me down, man. You know what I'm saying? And people try to make money off of you. Well, what do you do when you go to work? You try to make money off of someone else. Stop it. Think it through. Don't cross on the yellow. It has really hurt the black community, because the real uplift in this country is through individual initiative, activity, and entrepreneurship. I want you to get those three down, because those are the things that are being attacked most in urban America. Individual initiative. You are not a Christian. You are not a real human being. You shouldn't be a citizen of the United States if you own a gun and ammo. You don't have to go to work. You can be dependent on unemployment insurance, and government will always provide for your need. Individual initiative is being darkened. Activity. Learning in school and having parents that reinforce it at home, that there is supposed to be law and order, discipline, respect, and reverence. No one has to earn your respect. You are a child. No one has to earn your respect. You are a teenager. But you must show both reverence and respect for those who are above you that are elders. I know that your parents don't teach you that, and that's why you're still sitting on the couch wondering when they're going to come home to make your cereal. That's why you got a little boy on the cover of the Obama healthcare thing with his little footies on and a little cup of cocoa with his glasses on, wondering when's the next government check coming. And finally, entrepreneurship. The reason why people hate being the worker is because they believe they have no hope of ever being the owner. And when you have no hope of ever being the owner, then you're not really learning any skills or trying to defy status quo in science or anything else or engineering. You're basically trying to get along to get along. And so what happens is you want your job to stay the same, but you have to understand something about life, time, and economics and business. Things change. Thank God they do. Innovation happens. And so you're supposed to take your opportunity of learning your skills. 9 o'clock says you're supposed to be at work, then you're supposed to be at work at 8:45. I still work on that. That you don't have to work through your lunch break, but you get your work done. That you're not gossiping. That you're not watching whatever. That you're focused on doing your job. Learning the skill set. Showing yourself trustworthy so you can take on greater responsibilities. And with greater responsibility comes an increase in skill set. Comes an increase in income. Comes an increase with job security. And eventually, you're no longer looking for job security. You're looking for an opportunity to create an innovation, to create a job that makes profit so that you can hire people, so that you can be the boss. Socialism is crippling Black America. Bishop E.W. Jackson continues. He says, this mindset that you are owed something and everything has to be the same for everybody is a very dangerous and insidious attitude that has crept into the Black community. And you know where the creeping began? Creep. You know where the creeping began? It began in the church. Where you had individuals who couldn't preach the gospel because they didn't have a PhD. You had churches that were competing against one another, and it's all about competition. You might have a man of God who's fired up, knows the scriptures, knows the Greek and the Hebrew, but doesn't have a master's of divinity, doesn't have a PhD, may not even have a bachelor's of science. But he's on the end of the bench while you have your number one player coming in on Sunday mornings telling the little girls that we make mistakes sometime, and God forgives you for the mistakes that you make if you ask Him. So if you got to make a mistake, go do it. God will be with you. Is that not what you say when you tell them to go to reproductive health centers that are opened by Planned Parenthood? Planned Parenthood, which does 97% of its business is abortions. Yes, minister, you pushed that child to kill a baby. You someday will be responsible. Pray up. Ask for forgiveness. Rosamondo goes on, and I'll skip over to another item that I have. Barack Obama's 1995 book, Dreams from My Father, illustrates his collectivistic and conformist mindset because the president relates that he chose to associate with Marxist professors and discuss the ideas of Marxist thinker Frantz Fanon to avoid being mistaken for a sellout while he was at Columbia University in the early 1980s. Selling out. Your blackness is more important than your belief in Jesus Christ. Your blackness is more important than keeping a job or developing the skill sets necessary to create jobs, which is capitalism. Your blackness is more important to you than understanding that you have a moral obligation to be right or to be wrong. That's conservatism. Your blackness is more important to you than the Constitution itself, because you know what? Payback is an itch and we need to get it. You know what I'm saying? We were slaves once. Which one of you, raise your hands, which one of you were slaves? Which one? Anyone? You were born free men. Acted. I want to take you to, and let me get rid of that real quick because I don't want to go back to that. This was written by Peter Balmer, December 20th, 1998, and he wrote it for the Socialists. He's Readings in Black Political Economy, 1999, Kendall Hunt, Du Bois, Iowa. He writes, racism directed against African Americans and other people of color has been a central and continuing feature of U.S. society. Its forms have changed, but we need to look no further than infant mortality rates and life expectancies. Wow. Unemployment and poverty rates and income, and stereotypes in the mass media to understand that racism and racial inequality remain. The value of the theory examined in this chapter is that racism is analyzed historically and as a central aspect of the economic system. Now, fundamentally, I want you to understand that racism, like prejudice, like discrimination, like free choice, like doing what you believe, all are done in one place. It is your mind. As a man thinketh, he is. Now, there are tools that are used to implement the way you feel or think about someone else or a race of people. But know that the God you believe in must be greater than your race and must be greater than the tools that are used against you to keep you from becoming what you were intended to be. Because if God intended you to be something, and we have already established the fact that he wants you to be king and priest, then nothing will stop you from becoming it. Now you see, the whole idea here is for men and women to be bogged down into the coulda, shouldas, what is a man thinking that's keeping me from being all that I can be. Orthodox Marxism is built on using racism to divide people, rather than to use e pluribus unum, the fact that from out of many come one, that we are all one race of people, that we are all one American, and that we are all working towards a more perfect union. He writes, central to Marxism is the understanding that capitalism is an economic system with two major classes. The capital class owns and controls the means of production capital and continually tries to increase its profits. The working class, which is the large majority of the population, sell their labor power, their capacity to work, in return for a wage. Profits come largely from paying employees less. That's not true. Because when you look at it, generally out of $1, 26 cents out of $1 normally go towards your wages. Marx speaks of exploitation. Trump speaks of negotiation. If you have something that is of value, that you cheat yourself in the marketplace, whether it's in Marxism or socialism or capitalism, is your responsibility. You should always seek the greatest gain for what you can give to the world to create the greatest profit so that you can innovate, create, and redo as a good steward. Ladies and gentlemen, we can go on for a little bit, but I want to make very certain to you that you understand that there are those who want you to be ignorant of socialism. What does socialism mean? Bernie states it means a lot of things. What does capitalism mean? It means one thing, that you have a creator who's given you a gift to make profit from. Use it wisely. Adorn it perfectly. And raise it up continually. The greater you become, the greater others will become. That's the collectivism that you'll find in capitalism. As a man thinks, he is. We'll be back on Friday. I'll be with Lonnie Poindexter on Lion Chasers at 12 o'clock. Tomorrow, 3 o'clock, Eddie Siplin will be with us on the Conservative Commandos radio show. And on Saturday at 5 o'clock, we will be doing our New Day Black and Red. I want to thank you all so much. Sunday, an American Conservatives Expiration of the Inspired Word of God at 7 in the morning. Be there or be square. Again, God bless you. Thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, God bless America. Now it's time for America to bless God.